I rise to speak on a national extracurricular education program called Subs in Schools. Last Friday, I had the pleasure of participating in the South Australian state finals of the Subs in Schools program. As a former Navy submariner, I was keen to be involved. It was kind of a boys and their toys thing for me. Whilst I was aware of these in-school STEM programs, I must confess I was not fully prepared for what I saw and learned on the day. As a first point of learning for me as a senator, there were more girls in the essay program than there were boys. So it's not boys and their toys, it's girls and their toys. And that was just fantastic to see. There were 19 teams from both primary and high schools, private and public, having designed and built small and large remotely operated vehicles and submarines that they had put through a series of in-water tests. I got the chance to witness some of these young innovators presenting their solutions, the processes they'd gone through, and then I got to speak to a number of them directly. I was so very impressed with these students, ranging from primary school students all the way up to high school students, starting at 11 years old. They were keen, eager and enthusiastic. Every one of them that I spoke to elaborated on how participation in this program had helped guide their thinking on what they'd like to do for their future. What I saw was engineers, project managers, graphic designers and marketeers wrapped up in the bodies of children. I want to give, it was so impressive with these kids, I want to give some of them a bit of a shout out here in the Senate chamber tonight. There was Claire Green, Polly Turner, Keely Copeland, Zoe Lepper. They were from Trinity Garden Primary School's Alki team. There was Georgia Ventura, Madeline Ime, Ivy Pyman and Caitlin Pennell, also from Trinity Gardens Primary School, in the Vanguard team. To the older kids, Saxon Chappell, Maya Dengel and Catherine Yu from Marrickville High School and their Marrickville Subs team. All of the students participating were representatives of the physical embodiment of our capability and enthusiastic next generation. Even those that didn't win a prize in the judging were winners. I felt personally proud of all of the kids there, but I can tell you I wasn't as proud as the parents who were onlooking as the children received their prizes. Through their participation in this program, the students had to learn and undertake all aspects of these projects, from design, prototyping, testing, documenting, project managing and marketing, with the older groups also having responsibility for fundraising. For some perspective, the Australian team, which went on to win the F1 in Schools program, raised $65,000. Re-Engineering Australia, or REA, the foundation behind these programs, surveys many of the teachers and students participating in the program. Some salient points from the most recent round included the fact that 61% of students said they would consider a career in defence-related industries. 71% would recommend to their peers that they consider a career in defence or defence industries. 94% believed that STEM is interesting. 83% of them thought that STEM was fun. 86% of them felt good when they were doing their project. I think this shows an obvious success. Having the students think STEM was fun and feeling good whilst they were doing their projects are great outcomes for their own personal development, let alone the positive impact it's likely to have on their desires to be more involved in STEM and how it's likely to influence their thinking about their future careers. As a South Australian, I was also proud to discover the level of participation of Subs in Schools of the Subs in Schools program in my state has driven the need to establish an assessment stage in the form of a state final, one of only 2 states that have had to do this. Across Australia, 600,000 students have been directly mentored through REA's various in-school STEM programs, with many more benefiting indirectly. This program is clearly helping to stimulate interest in STEM subjects. The students are learning that STEM does not mean more maths and more science and more coding. Rather, it's about application and what you do with what you learn. I doubt there's a student in Australia that hasn't sat in a classroom and thought, when am I ever going to use this? These programs are helping to answer that question and broaden their horizons, opening their eyes to things they had previously never considered. Whilst I was specifically there for the Subs in School program, Dr Michael Myers, the Executive Chairman of REA Foundation, provided me with an overview of all the STEM programs, including the F1 in schools, as previously mentioned, 4x4s in schools, and the new one, Space in Schools, that is just getting underway. Now, obviously, as an ex-Submariner, I have an affinity for the Subs in Schools program. However, the combination of my natural interest in being a Senator for South Australia, the home of the Australian Space Agency, I confess to also being interested in the Space in Schools program and look forward to seeing that program evolve. Since the commencement of the REA program in 1988, the cumulative corporate contributions of the various REA programs is approaching $37 million. Government grants or sponsorships over the same period total about $6 million, less than 14% of the total cumulative program contributions. This point is not intended to be a negative, in fact quite the opposite. The corporate world can see the benefits in supporting these programs. And in my view, this participation and support is a fundamental part of the success of the programs. But this doesn't mean that the government couldn't increase the contribution. I'll come back to that shortly. Whilst the Subs in School program is still very much an Australian program, there are more than 40 countries participating in the F1 in Schools program. In 2006, an Australian team won the first championship for Australia. Since then, Australian teams have collected another 6 championships. On the international stage, Australia has made a name for itself as high achievers, with other teams always keen to see what the Australian teams are up to. Returning to Subs, however, South Australia is the build location of our future frigates and submarines. I can see Senator Smith over there, so I'll also say it's the permanent place for our full-cycle dockings too. We will need a talented workforce if we are to be successful in the naval shipbuilding program. And these kids are part of that talented workforce. We have a duty to foster these sorts of programs. We need to do this for the students, but we also need to do this for industry and for our nation. It is in that light I suggest that the Commonwealth, particularly the Defence Department, might want to supercharge this program. Subs in School is a great program, and I encourage senators to pay a visit to a program running in your state. It's about enhancing STEM. It's about flourishing youth. It's about giving our kids an opportunity to get their hands into a project to use technology in a productive way and to learn what happens when you go through a design, prototyping and testing stage. This program, Subs in Schools and its related programs, is about setting up our nation for the future. Thank you.